from some lawmakers who say they've been notified that they were on the target list of this alleged shooter, including a congresswoman from Grand Rapids. Unique dynamic. They have 535 members representing the entire country, and they have said unequivocally, Vlad, that they're concerned about the vulnerability of members in their hometowns, in their home districts, in their homes, when they're not beneath that shield, that dome of protection here at the U.S. Capitol. The Capitol Police are asking for nearly $1 billion in funding next year to help button up any vulnerabilities and better protect the elected legislators when they're at their homes and their home offices.
So, Scott, I mentioned this security briefing the leaders on Capitol Hill are going to have later this afternoon. And I know that the job of reporters and journalists is to press these lawmakers on the rhetoric that many of them use, the dehumanizing language that they use to paint the opposition. And I wonder if there's even just a discussion around that, those root causes. I know there was some back and forth from members of the U.S. Senate with Senator Mike Lee, who posted some sort of joking tweets on X. And I just wonder, they want to spend money, sure. They want to put in barriers, and they want to they want to put in all these physical barriers to prevent people from carrying out acts of violence. But it begins sort of with the language that is used by certain politicians to mock, or in some cases worse, dehumanize people they don't agree with. Any talk about addressing those issues?
Your finger's really on the pulse of a critical issue here. There are these cross currents going on where you have this bipartisan condemnation of the violence and bipartisan calls for Congress to be better secured, to invest in security, but you also have elected leaders blaming the other party for rhetoric that may infuse some of these threats with energy. And of course, you have any number of Democrats who say President Trump opened the door for more political violence when he
surely did. All of this is because of that damn demon in the White House.
Calling them political prisoners and righteous. That this may incentivize other people to think they're righteous, that they're political patriots, and that excuses their threats of safety. So there are going to be these two briefings today, one in the U.S. Senate, one in the U.S. House, for members to talk about security precautions. But none of this is happening in a vacuum, Vlad. It's happening at a time where the parties believe the other to be at least partly responsible for some of these violent threats.
All right. Scott MacFarlane, to be continued, I'm sure. Scott, thank you very much, as always, my friend. Appreciate it.
Gloom and doom when you have a fool in office. Doom and gloom. Oh, Lord, we need you today. In the name of Yeshua, come, Lord. Come quickly with a reward in your hand. Your people need you, Lord, in a time like this. Evil has taken over and has a stronghold on America. Hate has taken over with racism, with the white people again thinking they're superior over the blacks. The enemy, the oppressor, wants to show his ass, Lord. It's time for a spiritual war in the name of the Yeshua. Oh, yes. The ancestors are on the ground.
Under normal circumstances, the president issued a memo about a week ago, and he said, I'm federalizing the National Guard. And he pointed to the specific statute, Title 10, Section 12406. That's going to be important today as we listen to the oral arguments before the Ninth Circuit. And he says, I have the authority over the governor's wishes not to do so. I have the authority to federalize the National Guard. And so the conversation we're going to hear among California and the Department of Justice on two sides and the three-judge panel will all center on whether or not the president under the statute did have the authority to call up the National Guard. Now, we can get into all of the details. There are going to be specifics like whether or not judges can even second guess a president's decision, that the triggering facts are there, that there's a rebellion or the danger of a rebellion, or that he's unable to execute the laws through the normal forces. Those are the triggering facts you need to say, I am going to federalize the National Guard. And then there's going to be even more detailed arguments about whether or not the Trump administration followed proper procedures. The specific statute says orders have to be issued through the governors. Did that happen here? So those are the things we're going to hear about today at 3 p.m. Eastern when, again, this 3-judge panel reviews the case.
So this case apparently only applies to the National Guard. We know that Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, along with the president, mentioned deploying United States Marines into Los Angeles, which seems sort of strange to me, given the Marines' overall mission. Yes, of course, they know how to fight in urban environments and have done so in the past, but they're part of the Navy, and so I just wondered what the thinking was or the rationale behind the idea of deploying Marines into an American city.
So I think part of what we're looking at, obviously, is a show of force. Now, in terms of the legality, which obviously is what I can speak to more, you're exactly right, Vlad, that we're talking about two separate tracks. So what we just talked about is a statute that allows the president to federalize the National Guard. And there's a question about whether or not he had the authority to do so here. There's a separate question, there's a separate track that the president uses in order to say, I'm deploying the Marines. One thing I did want to mention to your question about, why we would call it the Marines, what they can do, I want to emphasize that both under the statute that could allow the president to federalize the National Guard and under DoD directives, Department of Defense directives, that could allow the president to deploy the Marines, we're talking about the National Guard and the Marines acting in a support role. So at this point, the president has not invoked the Insurrection Act, and this is all about whether or not they can support federal agents.
Really fascinating. Jessica Levinson for us. Really just sort of an interesting breakdown. And so it'll be interesting to see how those judges rule. I know that there's been a lot of back and forth, which you helped to clarify for us. As always, we appreciate you. Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks.
All right, President Trump is on track to slash FEMA, and some of the most vulnerable parts of the U.S. could bear the brunt of those cuts. We're going to tell you about it. You're streaming CBS News 24/7.
There is a time for everything, and there is a season. God has planned everything, and He has a reason. A time to laugh, a time to cry, a time to be born and a time to die. There is a time for everything, everything. He made us from the dust, that we should serve Him. He wants my heart a house of prayer, so He can come and meet me there. So God, I want to do my part. I'll give my soul, my very heart. There is a time for everything, everything. Now is the time. If you're gonna love Him, now is the time. If you're gonna serve Him, let your heart reach out just now. Let your heart and soul, let it make a vow. Now is the time to serve the Lord. Now is the time. If you're gonna love him, now is the time. If you're gonna serve him, let your soul reach out just now. Let your heart, let it make a vow. Now is the time to serve the Lord.
News Philadelphia meteorologist Grant Gilmore with the last look at the national forecast. Hey, Grant.
Kind of in line with talking about FEMA and hurricane season. And we've got a tropical storm here in the eastern Pacific. It's about 300 miles south of Mexico. This system's primed and ready to go into what looks to be a rapid intensification. Could be a hurricane by tomorrow morning and potentially Category 2 hurricane before making landfall there just south of Acapulco. So watching that area really closely as what is now Eric, a tropical storm Eric, but could be a hurricane by tomorrow, approaches the west coast of Mexico. In the meantime, we've got a severe weather threat across the central United States today. We'll watch that for damaging winds and very large hail. Vlad, back to you.
All right, Grant. Thank you very much, my brother. See you tomorrow.
To the safe return of forcibly dispersed persons. We note with alarm that since December of last year, 400 people have already been victimized by unexploded ordnance. 1/3 of these people are children. The Syrian government and specialized international agencies need to redouble and step up efforts for mine clearance and awareness raising. We highly value the activities of UN humanitarian structures in Syria who are focused on saving people's lives. We believe that under present-day conditions, what is particularly important is food support programs as well as efforts to rebuild the healthcare and water sectors. At the same time, we are very much concerned by the level of financing for the UN humanitarian appeal of the $2 billion requested from January to June 2025. Only approximately 13% has been received. The lack of resources is already generating grave consequences. There's a need right now to consolidate the efforts of donors in the international community. We cannot allow millions of Syrian people to be left without support at such a critical juncture. Madam President, we advocate a political process with the involvement of all ethno-religious groups and minorities in Syria with support from the UN and in accordance with the key provisions of Security Council Resolution 2254. We view this process as the linchpin for the restoration of Syrian sovereignty and territorial integrity. As the next steps along this path, we look forward to the formation of a provisional government and the crafting by the Constitutional Committee of a draft basic law. We reaffirm our support for the efforts of the UN Special Envoy, Geir Peterson. We look forward to the inclusive nature of the ongoing international support for inter-Syrian dialogue. Syria and its resilient people have tread their path, surmounting onerous travails with dignity, and despite it all, they preserve their faith in the best and focus on constructive cooperation with the international community. They deserve our concerted support. For our part, we intend to establish fruitful cooperation with Syria and intend to deliver its people and government with the necessary support to surmount the difficulties of the transitional period. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for his statement, and I give the floor to the representative of Denmark.
Thank you, Madam President. And let me also thank Deputy Special Envoy Rushdie and Assistant Secretary General Masuria for their comprehensive briefings. Ms. Rolani, thank you for your powerful testimony and your description of the mixed feelings of grief and hope that many Syrian people have. Denmark is proud to have stood with the Syrian people throughout these difficult years. Madam President, allow me to make 3 points. First, on the security situation. There could be no meaningful recovery in Syria without genuine safety and protection for all Syrians. Protection of civilians is a cornerstone of international humanitarian law. While we acknowledge the Syrian transitional government's efforts to create a legitimate and united national army, more must be done towards securing the protection of all civilians. Reports of abductions of women, sporadic killings of civilians, and systematic attacks on communities need to be swiftly and credibly addressed. We are also worried about the continued threat posed by terrorism in Syria. We strongly condemn attacks by Daesh in Aleppo and other parts of Syria, and we welcome the transitional government's emphasis on combating terrorism. Second, on the humanitarian and economic situation. Denmark is pleased with the European Union's decision to lift sanctions on Syria. This decision is a strong signal of the EU's commitment to support Syria's transition and economic recovery. The newly concluded electricity and power agreements is another step towards progress. It is now essential that these initial gains are continuously built upon and ultimately lead towards a broader, long-term positive economic impact and development for the Syrian people. Funding shortfalls are critical, and millions of Syrians continue to face food and water insecurity. Water scarcity, in particular, remains a serious concern. Denmark has and will continue to work to ensure access to water, including through our project with the ICRC on securing the continued supply of drinking water to more than 12 million people in urban centers across Syria. Third, Madam President, on the political process. We welcome yesterday's announcement by the transitional government on the establishment of the Supreme Committee for the Elections to the People's Assembly.
Someone turned on you for somebody else and instantly regretted it. Yes, sir. Let me say it louder. For my chosen ones in the back. Listen, family. Someone turned on you for somebody else and instantly regretted it. Somebody drop in the comments and say, it ain't what you thought it was. Yes, sir. Make sure you drop in the comments, family, and say, it ain't what you thought it was. See, more than often, y'all, people turn on other individuals because they feel like they are replaceable. And in my opinion, y'all, I believe in the society that we live today, they have given people too many options. But the sad reality about those options is they are false options, right? So for a man, you may see that all these guys with money in the top 1%, right, the top 10%, they have all these options of women who come from Indonesia, they come from Dubai, right, the top cities in the world, okay, and here you are working at your 9-to-5 job thinking that you're going to be able to bag something like that. And even if you were in the top 1 or 10%, not all of those women are for you, right? Sometimes it's about, a lot of times, it's about what you can do for them. For my women, you may see all these ladies out here being spoiled, being treated. They paying for first class flights, flying them out. Y'all know that's a big thing. I got flew out, right? And you see these women getting married, they're getting spoiled, as though that's what it seems. You see that they are going to dinners, they're getting all this special treatment. And here you are looking at your man who work a regular 9-to-5 job, hoping that he can give you the same experience. And so you tell yourself in your head, girl, I got options out here. I don't know what he doing, but I'm going to just go ahead and start exploring my options. That's what you tell yourself. You know why? Because you've seen these women living this false reality, right? Not knowing what they are going through to get what they got. Not knowing if they're being beat. Not knowing whatever they're going through to get what they got. You're just comparing your situation. Let's just say you have a friendship, right? And you've been friends with this guy, or girl, or woman, whatever, for years. Here you are trying to throw him away because you feel like, oh, I can just join another sorority. I can just join another brotherhood. I can just join, a hobby. And now I meet my friends there. What people don't realize is that you ain't going to meet a person with the same type of heart, the same type of character, the same type of mindset, the same type of actions, right? And also, y'all, with the same type of trust, because it takes years to build that. If y'all are understanding what I'm saying, drop in the comments and let me know. But let me break this down for you. What I'm simply saying is that a person who feel like they have all these options that don't exist will cause them to turn on you for other people real quick, right? It will cause them to turn on you, switch up on you real quick, because they feel like they can find what you are giving or what you have to offer within someone else. And it almost never worked that way. It almost never worked that way. I'm not saying that it have, right, or it never have, but for the most part, y'all, it ain't gonna work like that, right? You can't throw good people away and then think that you're gonna get another good person. God don't bless you like that. God don't bless a mess. Somebody drop that down below in the comments. God won't bless a mess.
God won't bless no mess.
We're outside connected with nature. All right, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. It's getting hot. I'm gonna have to start doing more videos in my crib because, hey y'all, it's hot. I'm talking about. I feel like I'm gonna get hotter right now.
Cause man is evil, and he put on a mask and trying to be something that he ain't. Man ain't shit.
I don't see no goose or geese. I don't see no ducks. I see some turtles out here. All right, and that probably explains why they not out. It's too hot. Just being honest.
And it's gonna get hotter.
But y'all, I'm sending.
I promise you that.
Love, peace, prosperity, and happiness to the family.
Cause you're too damn evil.
All right, if you're having a terrible day, y'all understand.
And you smile. You ain't nothing but a damn fox.
World, so much bad.
A wolf in sheep clothes.
If you're living, you got a place to stay.
And you know it.
You got something to drive. You got food to eat. I don't care if you just got breath in your body. You blessed. Somebody drop in the comments and say, appreciate your blessings, all right? But family, let's go ahead and get into this because this is something that we've all been through. People turning on us for somebody else or something else because they thought that they had more to offer, all right? But anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and get into it. Meditating and getting on your energy. Look what it says right here. Shame. You caught them in their lies. I don't know. I was picking up on somebody that just lies, deceitful, just somebody that you were dealing with. Now for shame. You caught them in their lies. I don't know, I was picking up on somebody that just lies, deceitful, just somebody that you were dealing with. I don't know, but in the work, if this has to do with work, you could have been dealing with somebody, supervisor that didn't want you to get a promotion. Lies after lies, and you started to catch on. For some of you guys, you could have gotten written up. It could have affected you, you know, where you're like, man, this person told me to do this. In other words, they were guiding you in the wrong direction, you know. You thought this person was gonna help you, but in reality, you're starting to find out, like, this person is trying to sabotage me. So you could be dealing with a compulsive liar. I mean, this person can look you straight in the eyes and tell you a lie, but your intuition's like, no way. So you might have caught this person in a lie and says, you have a bullseye on your head. What the heck is that? Okay, now it makes sense. It says, as you become a success in spirit, it will feel as if you have a bullseye on your head. So for some of you guys, you're stepping into your spirituality. You could be going through a period of time. If you had spell work, you're starting to figure out. You're starting to figure out, and you're wondering why. And you could be angry if you're finding out, like what I put on the community post. And if you do find that out, Leo, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, anywhere you chart, I want to say it here. Just know that if people have to get to that, go that
level, yes, it takes a long time.
Put it in the comments. You are freaking badass. And look, I know exactly what I need to do. So you could be in this energy. You might want to. I don't know why I feel like a little group that wants to take you out or to get you fired. Mm-hmm. Been gone or disappeared. This person that could have did some kind of magic on you, they're already gone. They're not in your life. They disappeared. They're not gonna come and this is what I'm picking up. They're not gonna come in front of you. For some of you guys, pay attention. There'll be a person that calls you out of the blue. How are you doing? And they want to know. Because you're like, what you mean, how am I doing? Like if they're checking up on you. This could be a friend, this could be, sibling, a lover, or ex or something, but the way they call you, you need to pick up on that. You're gonna click. You're gonna be like, okay. And it's almost like they tell on themselves. So I don't know. Being gone and disappear. For some of you guys, if it's in the workplace, it can be toxic. It's like you want something better. So if they push you out, just understand, that you have something better coming. It says, you say we're just friends. So you could be dealing with somebody with friends with benefits. Or somebody, yeah. If this was in the workplace, man, it's gossip.
No, it's in the church place. The church place.
You could have turned them down. You could have said, oh, vamos a la chingada. And, it could have been something that you could regret. I don't want to figure that up. For a lot of you guys, look, creating financial abundance. You could be in this energy, or you're trying to get into this energy, and you feel you could look around your house. You're going to find something. You're going to find something out. You might find one of those jars or something. They want to be the boss. And it says, let them. So for some of you guys, if you took off, you said, you know what? Oh, man, you gave it to them. It's almost like somebody was putting you in competition. And this person probably didn't know as much as you did. So you're being asked if you haven't done it. Because you're not going to sit here with the bang back and forth, this and that. Even with, when you find out with this jar, even go there. Give it to God, and vámonos a la chingada. And I'm teaching you guys that because I'm practicing what I preach. I have to forget. You'll be surprised who.
Oh, I forget them, but they just want to keep on and keep on keeping on. So they're just gonna keep on losing people.
At least in my case, I love my
keep on getting sick.
Whether they're assholes or not, or whether they like me or not. For some of you guys, you could be in the same situation. It's like
they don't.
They're jealous of you.
I guess they'll learn.
In a age gap difference. For a lot of you guys, you never even thought about competing with these people or your family. If you're firstborn, you could be an age gap. Some of you guys, you left the house early, 13, 14 years old. You never even thought about competing with these people or your family. If you're firstborn, you could be an age gap. Some of you guys, you left the house early, 13, 14 years old.
and you didn't have that bond.
It wasn't that. They just jealous.
That jealousy. You're wondering why. You could love these
Because we prospered. And they can't stand it. That's what it is.
They copy your
That's
style.
what the truth is. Yes, they copy every damn thing I do. But they never say anything about it. But I'm adjusted to that because I know what kind of people they are.
Copy your
Low vibrational fools.
And it turns you on. So if this is the opposite sex, fine. So I'm picking up on this, that if you have somebody that's copying your style, I'm picking up on a Leo, you don't have this jealousy. Like,
no, it don't bother me. It don't bother me at all.
Maybe you're meant to inspire people to help them, be creative in ways to advance in life, advance in their career. So it might turn you on. It might give you a push to keep pushing forward. And like I said, if this is a partner that's kind of like, the opposite sex, if it's the same sex, that's crazy. But if it's the opposite sex, it might turn you on because it's almost like you're meeting somebody.
No, it is the same sex. And what's so strange about that? Are you one of those crazy people too?
You guys are on the same, walking the same path. If it's other people, you like it, and like I said, if it turns you on, it could mean that it makes you feel good, and it's gonna give you a light bulb. You'll be like, wow, you know what? I could thrive in this. Being a coach, being a advisor, being somebody that trains. Advisor, being somebody that trains. So you could be avoiding, or somebody. You're not gonna play games with this. For some of you guys, you're too old for that crap. Be playing this blame game. So that's why they're avoiding you. It says God loves.
Yes, I'm gonna avoid them. They're just too childish for me.
You're very grateful.
Too childish.
Talking to my Leo, Sun, Moon, Rise, and Venus, anywhere you chart.
They're liars and thieves and con men.
You bless God. You're very thankful, and even through your hardships, like even through your karma, at least on my end, I know I have to deal with karma. And you know what? Even if it hurts, even if I have to suffer. One of the things that I want you to look at from a higher perspective, that if you do go through trials and tribulations, or you have to suffer, because of somebody else, and you can look at it, why did God allow that to happen? And when you do that, just know that God is already watching. So if He allowed it to happen, you're gonna learn something. Because there's people that get away with it. And maybe God don't love those people, but He loves you. So if you went through hardships, guess what? Even if God seen that,
I know He's training me.
Guess what? If you look at it from
yes, He's training me.
It's because God loves you.
Yes, indeed.
It says it in the book. Read it.
It's a training session. Because I'm a
warrior. It says God knows your heart. He knows the battles you fought, the tears you shed.
Exactly.
It says it's hard to resist a bad boy or a bad girl.